Mesdames et messieurs,
The greatest festival of our contemporary society, the Olympic Games, is about to begin.
this is gonna be close.
You can do it! You can do it!
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But that is an Olympic championship.
Ready.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of Keep the Flame Alive podcast. I'm your host, Jill Jarrett, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Allison Brown. Allison, hello.
Hello, I feel special.
It is special today. We are participating in a Giving Tuesday podcast episode. This is an initiative to celebrate Giving Tuesday and the hashtag Giving Tuesday Now. In Australia, they are doing a little Give a Podcaster a Boost campaign, so we decided to join in the fun and help take that global. So what we're doing is recommending some niche podcasts that we can't live without in hopes that you would like to find some other content and help out some other podcasters. All right, first up, we love the show Hear Her Sports, which is at hearhersports.com. The show is hosted by Elizabeth Emery, who I have become buddies with since I moved to Cleveland because she turned out to be in the Cleveland area. And when I said I was moving here, she's like, oh, hey, let's be podcasting buddies. So that element is fun. But her show is also really good because she focuses on female athletes and their one-on-one in-depth interviews about sports, being a female in the athletic world.
I feel like it's a sister show.
Yeah, it is a sister show.
You know, because often when we have female athletes on, we end up talking about, sometimes tangentially, the issues that they faced as mothers or as being, you know, the one girl on the team. And she really focuses on those kind of issues. And it's interesting because it's not from the Olympic perspective. It's from female in sports perspective.
Right. Yeah, and it's just kind of fascinating to see how the world has worked and how it is very slowly changing and how these women are trying to make a change within their sport, and even how Elizabeth is trying to make a change within how sports are covered, because not much media coverage is given to female sports.
And not enough money.
That's true as well.
Okay, what's next?
Next up is a little podcast called Why I'll Never Make It, which is at whyillnevermakeit.podbean.com, or as the host Patrick Oliver Jones likes to say, win me.
We met him at Podcast Movement. I guess it's now almost 2 years ago.
Right. Yes, we did.
And we met him at a cocktail party, and he was adorable.
He was.
So charming and so lovely. And that really carries over into the show. I just want to put him in my pocket.
I know. And I got to tell you, during this time of COVID, I've listened to the show occasionally since we've talked to him and keep coming back to it. And it's one of those that during COVID, I have found to be very comforting. He's got an amazing voice. He's an actor. But what they do is talk about creative professionals and making it in the business. And that's kind of a little riff on why I'll never make it, because it's very, very hard to achieve superstardom success. But he does talk to some pretty big people who have, quote unquote, made it, or at least made it for a little while. And he also talks to regular people who are grinding it every day and dealing with a lot of rejection. And it's interesting and kind of comforting for me to hear how other people go about trying to make it in a business.
And what I find so interesting in who he talks to is he doesn't necessarily talk to people's names who you know, but as I'm looking through the list, you know, because I listened to it, but I didn't look at their faces. And then I see their faces and I say to myself, oh, yeah, it's those faces that you see in different
right,
Broadway
that guy or
shows
that woman, or
yeah, that guy. That's the girl in the thing, and those are the real working, creative professionals who fill that role and fill those many roles.
Yeah,
rather than the big superstars who are so rare, and yet there are all these people who, like you said, grind it out, working day to day, and have in some ways very normal lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they're on this very abnormal profession.
Yeah. So highly recommend that as well. And then finally, we're going to recommend a podcast about podcasts. And that is Podcast Gumbo, which is at podcastgumbo.com.
Love that name.
The host is Paul Kondo, whom we also met at Podcast Movement a couple years ago. And Paul lives in Boston. So we had done some podcast meetups together, and we've been featured on his podcast. He's featured us on his blog. Podcast Gumbo started out as a weekly newsletter with podcast recommendations, and this year he's branched out into his own podcast. It's 5 minutes long. It's really quick. It gives you recommendations for different types of podcasts if you don't know what to listen to. And I got to tell you, I have found many, many podcasts that I have enjoyed because of Paul's recommendations. Oh, some I am devoted to, and others, they're nice to dip in, but like even the episodes he recommends are really interesting.
What I find so overwhelming is I'll go into Apple Podcasts and they give the big names that we all know. And I listen a little bit, and I find finding other podcasts very frustrating because I am a niche kind of podcast listener. And then I find when I listen to the whole thing. So he cuts the clutter.
Yes. Yeah, he does a great job. So those are our 3, and we hope you listen to them.
Join our Facebook podcast group, and we're happy to hear your 3 recommendations.
Exactly. We are at Keep the Flame Alive podcast group on Facebook. And if you want to tag us on social, we are at Flame Alive Pod on Insta and Twitter and on Facebook page. We will be back on Thursday with a regular episode of the show, but we wanted to say thanks. And if you are so inclined, support your local podcast, support your local businesses on Giving Tuesdays. Thanks so much, and keep the flame alive.